Hello and welcome to Please Me. Last week, Eve interviewed Marika McCandless, the author of Naked in the Now, who talked about how she overcame her body shame and described her experience as naked reverence, or loving who you are and being wholly and authentically you, flaws and all. If you haven't done so already, go back and listen. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Eve is a licensed sexual health physical therapist on a mission to destigmatize conversations about sex. Please sit back and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me. Looking for the best live streaming or podcast recording site? Look no further than StreamYard. Get $10 off your first purchase. For podcast hosting, Buzzsprout is the absolute best option out there. Get $20 off your first purchase. Who's looking for a sexy date? STC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous dating site that also houses a wealth of information regarding sexuality and sexual health. Join the Please Me Health Collective on STC.com and listen to Eve's free live webinars. Use code 37340 for a free trial membership. Maybe you are in the market for some sexy toys to add some spice to the bedroom. Check out the Organic Lovin' link for the best online store for sex toys, lubes, and more. Are you in menopause, perimenopause, or postmenopause? I have found the absolute best products called Parlor Games. I use the estriol and progesterone topical creams, and they have been game changers. Maybe you've listened to the show and want to be featured as a guest. Eve uses Podmatch to connect with new or potential guests. Reach out and begin the process today. Have any questions? Feel free to call me on the OWL app. Use code EH576472 for $10 free to use on the best networking app around. Give me a call. If you're experiencing sexual issues and need a physical therapy consultation or appointment, reach out to Eve and make an appointment on pleaseme.online. See all links and info in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I have the honor to welcome Karin Freeland. She is an award-winning author of Grab Life by the Dreams and also The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a penetrating memoir. And I am so excited to talk to her about that. So without further ado, I am going to welcome Karin to the show. Welcome to Please Me, Karin. How are you today?
Hi, Eve. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh my gosh, I love your energy. It's so awesome. So I am so curious. What made you write your book about the ins and outs of your vagina?
Yeah, so I think if I had to boil it down to like one sentence, it was just that I spent my whole life being really confused, feeling like I was broken, like my body wasn't doing what other women's bodies were doing. And I just needed to help other people feel like they weren't alone. Like, because as I started talking to more women, and, one of the things I always talk about is this comedy special that I watched. And seeing her talk about her vagina was like, wait, I have that problem too. And I'm like, okay, well, if she has that problem and she's doing a special in front of hundreds of thousands of people, there's no way this isn't a problem for others. So how can I use my voice to, like you said, destigmatize these topics and things that revolve around our vagina and help others? And at the same time, have a little fun in my life.
Absolutely. And so our missions are very much aligned.
Yes.
So tell us about the book. And the title says it's a penetrating memoir, which means that it's about you. So I would love to know more about you.
Yeah. So this book really takes readers on a journey from when I'm about 5 years old and I first discover I have a vagina, right? Like, what is this thing between my legs? Nobody's talked to me about this. Then you start having sensations down there and you're like, hey, this is kind of good, but is this bad? Is this wrong? Into puberty, periods, having sex for the first time, losing virginity, going on to bikini waxes, urinary tract infections, pregnancy, miscarriage, right? So the more serious side of having a vagina. and all the way to, orgasm struggles and pregnancy sex. I mean, it's all in there all the way through to about when I was 35, 40 years old is kind of where the book wraps up. So my vagina is a character in the book. Her name is V.
V.
And it's really fun because her and I have this love-hate relationship. She's always sabotaging my life, as it seems. And so she's telling me to do things that I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And she's like, oh, it's a good idea. And then, you wake up in some guy's bed and you're like, no, maybe I shouldn't have listened to you. So it's really fun because you get to learn about your body and relive your journey with your vagina while you're reading mine. And some of the things you read are going to be like, woof, gosh, I'm glad it was her and not me. And other things are going to be like nodding vehemently, like, yes, this happened to me too. I totally remember that. And it's just a really fun journey and escape from your everyday life.
I love that. And, so many people can relate to what you're talking about. I'm sure in many different parts of the book. And you talked about, orgasms and maybe how you struggled with having them. Can you go into that a little bit?
Oh, for sure. Like, I didn't even know we were supposed to orgasm during sex. Like, I just thought that just the guy did. I literally did not know that women were supposed to have orgasms. And I was a lot older than I care to admit before I realized, oh, we're not doing something right.
Something's missing here.
Right. What is happening? And I really thought my body was broken. And I remember calling my mom once, like the most embarrassing conversation we probably ever had. And I was like, I have a question. Do you orgasm? And she was like, what? Why are you asking me this? And I'm like, I don't. Like, is something wrong with me? And she was like, she's like, I don't have a problem. I'm like, okay, well, I thought it was genetic. Like, maybe this just got handed down to me and nobody in our family knows how to orgasm. So, okay, well, it's not that. What is it? So I ended up buying a vibrator, and I share the whole story about going on in Miami Beach, going down to the adult store, right? Because we didn't have online stores back then.
Right.
You had to actually walk into a place and pick out your vibrator from a shelf.
I remember feeling that sensation of being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in the store right now. And like all of the options, and your eyes are just like saucers, and you're like, oh my God, what do I get? What do I get?
Yeah, like a lot of it was really intimidating for me. I had some liquid courage. We had been drinking during the day out on Miami Beach. And I was like, well, none of us can drive right now. I kind of want to go into the store. Like, let's go check it out. So we went in, and like this woman who is servicing us and like showing us around and helping us pick stuff out is like, here, put your finger out, feel this one. And she like turns this vibrator, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do, but okay, that seems good. Can we just like do this quickly, put it in the package, get it up to the front, let me pay for it, and let's get out of here. And I took it home and I hid it for a little bit, like a couple of days. Like, I didn't know what to do with it. And there's this whole hilarious story of me like turning off all the lights and like hiding under the sheets so nobody can find me, and finally experiencing this and having this toe curling, mind blowing orgasm and being like, wait a second, this is what happens for him every time. And I'm over here like not experiencing this. Okay, this isn't going to work. Like, we got to figure something out. Right. But it was a journey. It was a really long journey from that personal experience to having the confidence to speak up and say, hey, babe, like, I love you and you're great, but I'm not getting what I need. I need more attention. I need you to focus on me. This needs to be win-win. And at the same time, we're having these discussions. He's getting more open to it. He understands that something's missing. He wants to help me, right? He almost gets like, now he's like, okay, did you orgasm this time? Did I do it this time? And I'm like, okay, now I can't even focus and enjoy myself because now I feel like
too
I
much
have
pressure
to perform.
Right.
Exactly. And so, over the course of the years, I've really gotten to a place now where it's like, I just embrace and enjoy whatever I'm presented with at that moment. I'm not going into sex like, okay, tonight I'm going to orgasm. This is the night. This is the time, right? It's really just approaching it as a beautiful connection between me and my husband. And, we're going to see what happens. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And that doesn't make the encounter any less valuable or special to me. Where for a long time, that was the goal. The whole goal was to make sure that I got an orgasm. And if it didn't happen, well, then this wasn't a success. This wasn't worth it. And that was just a terrible way to approach our relationship and our intimacy.
Well, I have to say that I applaud you for having, broached the conversation with your partner. And that takes a lot of courage. But as you know, once you start having these conversations, each one after that gets so much easier. And then you just create a dialogue. And it's so important that your partner is on board. And so thank goodness that your partner was on board, because there's some people that are like, I don't really care, I'm here for me. I don't care about your pleasure. And those are the partners that you really have to question whether you should be with them or not, because, everybody deserves pleasure. And if you're not getting your pleasure needs met, even after you've communicated that to your partner, then that's an issue. But, I applaud you too for like seeking, the guidance of, the lady at the store and really trying to figure out what was going on. You asked your mom. That took a lot of bravery too, because these are a lot of times conversations that we don't have as kids, and we should. I mean, I know that for me, I started masturbating when I was probably, I don't know, 8, 9, something like that, and I learned how to have an orgasm really young,
Yeah.
And I did it all the time. It was like my favorite pastime for a long time. You know how they always say the boys are always like, in the bathroom masturbating? Well, that was me too, and I explored sexually very young, because I also was, I am a victim of, sexual abuse. And so I knew about sex from the time that I was 5 years old, and so oftentimes girls, that experience that, or even boys, tend to have, confusing messages about sexuality, and so for me, it was a journey, thinking about writing a book like you did about my journey, and it was a journey in healing and really taking control of my body back, and then learning how to express what I wanted with other people. And I think that is so important. And that's what you're talking about doing with your partner, is really having that open communication. So that is a beautiful thing. And I often talk about the orgasm gap and how women in heterosexual relationships have less orgasms than in any other relationship type, and that is a very sad fact. And so the fact that you said, hey, you know what? I deserve an orgasm too,
Yeah.
And you made it a goal. And you know what? You reached that goal. And then, after that, it kind of like chilled out, where you're like, okay, this doesn't have to be the ultimate goal every time. You could just be the experience of connecting with my partner. And whether they reach orgasm or whether I reach orgasm, it's not the most important thing. The important thing is connecting. But knowing that you can orgasm, that's key. And many women don't know that they can.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for a long time, it was like, I was embarrassed about solo play or doing what I needed to have my sexual needs met. And then it really got to a point where he was like, well, if you don't want to do it by yourself, he's like, I don't care either way. But if you want to do it together, he's like, I'm happy to do that with you. Like you can bring your vibrator to the party. Like it doesn't have to be something that you're hiding from me or you feel like you have to do alone. And I'm like, well, I'd much rather have you there, personally, like that would make it much more enjoyable. So it took a lot of, courage on his part too, to be open and not, a lot of guys feel threatened by vibrators and
absolutely
very uncomfortable with that. But he, through a lot of love and conversation and just being there for each other, we were both able to come to terms with what worked for our relationship. And I always try to throw in that caveat, what works in for our relationship. Someone else is going to be listening to this right now, like, no, that would not work for me. And that's okay. You don't have to. And I think, especially when it really closely after the book came out, I was doing a ton of podcasts about orgasming, about sex, about all the things vagina related. And was, again, hearing a lot of stories from other women as the podcast host would share their story. And there would be things that they would say. And sometimes I would get off the call and be like, well, damn it, I want an orgasm tonight. Or why didn't I speak up that last time and say something? And we started to get into a lot of conflict in our relationship because he was like, this is all that's ever on your mind. Like, I feel so much pressure. Like, I have to show up and perform a certain way. And he was like, I just wish you would stop promoting this book because ever since you've started, you've turned into a sex monster. Sorry.
Well, if sex is on your mind all the time, then I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. So it was like, again, there was this give and take, and I had to also put myself in check and be like, okay, I'm not making this fun anymore. This is not enjoyable for him, and I'm the one making it that way. So let me, rethink how I'm going to approach some of these conversations. And so just the moral of the story is don't compare yourself to anyone else. Find your North Star, what feels right and true for you and your relationship, and do what you can to get it as close to that as possible.
Yes, absolutely. And, listening to other people's stories help us to relate and to not feel alone. But figuring out what works for you is really the key. And sometimes it takes solo play to learn what really feels good. And then translating that information to your partner or partners. It could be, not everybody's in a loving relationship, and some people are, dating and all of that, but really feeling comfortable with having these conversations and destigmatizing these conversations so that you can, have a hookup and enjoy it. Because unfortunately, there is such a thing as the orgasm gap where, a lot of times women are down here in the I can't remember the exact percentile, but something like 20 something percentile of women that, enjoy sex or feel happy about a hookup, where the men are up here in the, 70th, 80th percentile, or I don't remember the exact statistics. So fact check me out there, listeners. But, they're happy about the hookup. They don't regret it. And they got their needs met. And the women, really didn't as much, And so you really want to feel happy about every encounter, So knowing what works for you is the number one thing that you need to do so that you can translate that information to your partner or partners. So I definitely am so happy that you did and learned what works for you. You talk about being a recovered corporate workaholic. And I love that. And now you dedicate your time to helping all of us reinvent ourselves. Yeah. And so you are a life reinvention coach. So can we kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So it does relate to the first book. So I started writing this book in 2009 when my first son was born. And during maternity leave, I was pretty good. I'd write a couple chapters here and there. And then I went back to work. And I got right back into my workaholic zone. It was like I had a young one at home. How do I provide? How do I climb the ladder? How do I get promotion after promotion? Have another son, get some more promotions. And it fast forward almost 10 years. I'm stuck in this corporate grind and I'm like, I hate my life. Like, how did I get here? I didn't want to do this. I was supposed to be an actress and following my dreams. And what happened to my life? And so through that process of turning inward and really thinking about what I wanted to get out of this short time that I might have on earth, right? None of us know when our end date is. We all think we have till 100, but you don't know, right? You get cancer, you get in a car accident, life could be end over tomorrow. And are you happy with how you're waking up and living every day? And for me, that was like a resounding no. So I picked the book back up and I said, all right, I'm going to write this book. Even if I never produce it, I said I was going to write a book. Damn it, I'm going to do it. And so I started writing. I shared it with a few people. They loved it. And I was like, great, I'm going to produce it. And in that process of doing that and having this new creative spark in me, something just clicked. And I was like, wait a second, my life is like a 180 now, from how I was feeling in corporate. Now I'm using my corporate funds to fuel my dreams. And then the universe was finally like, okay, we're done here. I got laid off And I was like, you know what? This is the sign. I'm going to finish writing this book and I'm going to get my life coaching certification at the same time so that I can show other women how to follow their dreams. And so I did that I've been doing that now for 4 years, going on my 5th year. And it's been amazing because I get to work with awesome women who are also, trapped in the golden handcuffs and they're working a job that they don't love and they have all these amazing badass dreams. And I get to help them figure out what they really want to go do with their life and make a plan to exit corporate and to go make it happen. So it's been amazing, but it was like, then I wrote the second book, Grab Life by the Dreams, because I thought, I got to give people the tools to do this. Not everyone wants to invest in coaching. Some people can't afford coaching. I'm like, everybody can afford a $20 book. So let me put my whole signature edit your life methodology in there. It's the steps that I walk all my clients through, and you can just go get it for $20 on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever you buy books, So that was kind of how that one was born and came to life.
Amazing. And the statistic that I read in your profile that says, why do you think that 98% of people die without living out their dreams? That question really was like a punch in the nose. You know what I mean? It's like 98% of people die without having lived their dreams. That is such a sad statistic to me. And I love statistics because it really proves like what you're trying to talk about. And this one is really unbelievable. Do you want to answer that question?
Yeah. I mean, so much of it is fear, right? Fear of what people are going to think about you, fear of the unknown, and just fear that we don't have the skills and capabilities, right? We don't even have faith in ourselves that we can figure it out. And it's so sad, because I could have easily been a victim of fear. I mean, was I supposed to tell my husband, hi, I'm quitting my 6-figure job and I'm going to publish that Vagina book? Don't worry, we'll be fine. Like, that was scary for me. It was scary for me to go on LinkedIn and tell all these corporate executives that I had worked with for years that I wrote a book called The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, terrifying, in fact. But if I hadn't done that, think about how many lives would not have been changed, would not have been impacted. I mean, I get calls from people all the time or DMs, people reach out and say, Karin, oh my gosh, I had an ectopic pregnancy too. And I struggled with my miscarriage and I never told anyone. And I finally felt so seen and validated reading your book. Like, thank you for sharing that. Or, oh my gosh, Karin, I'd always wanted to get a bikini wax and I was just too scared to go. And reading that chapter really gave me the confidence to go and do it. And I just had my first bikini wax and it was awesome. And like, I'm so excited. It feels so good. And I'm like, this is amazing, right? Like, people are finding fulfillment in so many different areas of their life because I had the courage to step out and do things differently and not worry about what anybody else was thinking about me. And that's available to everyone, right? Like, my goal in life every day when I wake up is like, how do I bring that stat down? How do I change that stat to 95% of people die, 90% of people die, 20% of people die without living their dreams? I mean, that's going to be my legacy. Like, that's what I want to leave to the world. I'm getting fired up about this, damn it.
I'm so excited about that, and it's so funny because I love talking to people and learning from people on this podcast. And I feel like the podcast has been such a learning experience for me and such a healing experience for me. Each time I talk to somebody, I learn something new. And so I love hearing that this is your mission. And I can completely relate because my mission, and so many people hear me talk about that, is teaching people about the orgasm gap, and what it means. Because a lot of people don't even understand what it means. And it's 80% of women have faked orgasm in their lives, and that is a huge statistic too, right?
And that's such important work because think about this. It's so interconnected. And I don't think people always make the connection. But if you're a woman who is frustrated in her marriage and or any relationship, and you're not being sexually served and satisfied, how are you going to show up to your kids every day? How are you going to show up at work to your colleagues and to people around you? How do you show up for yourself? Do you even bother working out anymore? Like, you might just be like, oh, screw it. Who cares? Right? there's so much tied up in our sexual empowerment and our sexual pleasure and satisfaction that it trickles down into so many other facets of your life. Just like if you're in a job you hate and you're miserable and you come home and you never want to have sex because you're just so stressed out and you're working 24/7, that's going to impact your sex life. Well, why would it not impact the other way too?
Absolutely. And, having a fulfilling sex life, like you said, is going to bring you joy and happiness. And don't we all want to be happy and joyous, And also, it helps you to connect in a loving way to your partner. We all deserve love and pleasure. And I'm always saying that here on Please Me. So I definitely applaud you for the work that you're doing. I want to talk about your midlife crisis that you talk about. How did you know you were having a midlife crisis?
Yeah, it took a hot minute. I mean, I did not know at first that this is what was happening. And it was kind of a slow build until one pivotal moment. So what I mean by that is, 2016, I'm doing this chief of staff job. I'm working 24/7. I'm with all these male executives. I'm just like running my marriage into the ground. Like things are not good, right? I'm not okay. And then 2017, I switched companies. I'm like, oh, maybe if I work over here, I won't have such a hectic job. Nope, still same thing. Workaholic, workaholic, workaholic. And then I have this moment, right? I'm miserable. I'm crying all the time in my car, that kind of thing. Well, we have 2 deaths in the family in the span of 4 months. And it just sets me off. Like something inside of me started like alarm bells, like you're going to die someday. You're going to die. And what are you going to show for your life? A bunch of pretty PowerPoints that you made? Like, what are we doing here? This is not impact. We are not having an impact on the world. And I can't go on like this. But what would I ever do? What skills do I have? What capability, And so I just did what any self-respecting person having a midlife crisis does. And I bought a Benz. So I could trap myself in my corporate career and I wouldn't make any rash decisions because that was my thought. I mean, I'm the breadwinner for the family. I can't just walk away. This is adulting. Suck it up. You'll be fine. You're a big girl. You'll figure it out. And so I kept going for a little bit more. And my husband kept saying, like, you got to do something. You are so miserable. Like anything, something has to change. And so slowly I started having these, adding a hobby, I would go to like a yoga class or something. And I was like, oh, that was fun. And then I start writing the book and like all these things started happening. And I'm looking back and going, well, damn, I didn't have an affair, but I'm pretty sure that was a midlife crisis because I really was as low as they could go. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I was drinking all the time. So just massive amounts of alcohol, 7 days a week, just no breaks. During COVID, it got really bad. I mean, it started at like 10 a.m. I would hide it. I'd be on webinars like this, not obviously podcasts, but for work. And I would have a little glass of apple juice and bourbon. And I would just, nobody knew. I'd put stuff in my coffee and sit there with my coffee mug. And I'm like, well, this sucks. I'm just going to suffer through it. And eventually, just obviously had to draw a line in the sand. It was like, okay, this is about as low as I think I can go. Like, I'm not willing to go any lower. I have children. I need to get it together. What am I going to do to turn this around? And once I made that sort of line in the sand and started putting things into place, like I talk about in my book, right? Then it was like, okay, I see a way out. I see a path. Now, how quickly can I get there? I just got to run towards it.
Amazing. And it's a process, it is a
Yes.
process. And we often, as women put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get to the destination, right? But it is a journey. And so really moving in the right direction and giving yourself that grace to allow yourself to be, not always having to rush because life is about enjoying every moment. And so I want to know how you advise women who do feel stuck and what do you tell them to help them?
Absolutely. So the first thing and the most helpful thing I think is really this whole concept of turning inward. And so most of us spend our whole life listening to the other voices of other people, looking at what everybody else has, right? That's why we call it keeping up with the Joneses, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, what do they have? I need what they have. Or that person has that really awesome title. I should have that title. And we're chasing things that we don't even want. I chased being a CMO for so long. I'm like, I don't even freaking care. I don't even want to be a CMO, but somebody said I'd be a good one. And I just latched onto it like it was my dream and started chasing it relentlessly. And so there's a whole process I share in Grab Life by the Dreams, my second book, a lot of journal prompts to just start asking yourself, what's working in your life? What isn't working in your life? What would you regret not doing before you died? And just getting really clear on how you want to start spending your days and your time. And then we can back into that, what that actually would look like, right? Because we all want to go intuitively, right? We're so logical. We just want to go from step A to B. We're like, okay, well, I don't like this job. What's the next job? I'm like, I don't need you to know what the next job is yet. I just need you to know what you like, what works, what doesn't work. Let's get an idea of what that could be. And then we can start brainstorming other ideas of what you want to explore, what you want to potentially pursue before you make any major changes or moves. And I think so many people just don't want to look inward because the truth and what we find is sometimes scary. Right?
Yes, and fear will hold you back in so many ways. And sometimes, getting another job is like the easy way out, right? It's like, oh, I'll just get another job. Maybe that'll make me happy. But it's like, you do have to look inward to find out what exactly is going to make you happy. And if you don't do the work, you're not going to, move in the right direction. So you have to do the work. And journaling is such a great way to do the work. And, I've talked about this before, but, when I was in the midst of healing from, the main part of, my sexual abuse and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I went through it in my 20s and was in therapy and I was in a journaling group. And the journaling group is what saved my life. Let me tell you. And I wasn't ever suicidal or anything like that. But what I mean by saving my life is it turned my life around and allowed me to put that abuse behind me and to thrive. And I met with two other women who are my sisters. They're sisters from another mister, right?
Yep.
And I met with them every single week for about a year and a half, and we journaled. We journaled together. We would journal the same questions and we would write about those questions, and then we would come and discuss them together. And through that, we helped each other to heal from our past and to move forward in our lives. And so journaling is such a powerful tool. And I encourage people to pick up a journal or pick up a pad or pick up a paper or whatever, and start journaling. And it doesn't have to be written. You can, dictate your journal, if you can't write. So it's just super, super great way to really connect with yourself. So definitely. Tell me about the Edit Your Life program.
Yeah. So that's my signature coaching method. And it is basically the steps that I took when I was going through my transformation that I figured out were repeatable and I could share to other people. They could learn it and do it for themselves. So E stands for envision your goal. And that's where we get really big picture. We're doing all the dreaming. We're asking a lot of these big questions. Like, what does interest me? Like, I had one client, she was like, I want to work with animals. I'm like, beautiful, whatever it is, it has to involve animals. Got it. Like, just start putting all that stuff on paper. She's like, that sounds crazy. I'm like, nothing is crazy when you're brainstorming. Put it all down, right?
Right.
And then we're able to start looking at maybe nonprofits or whatever. But, this is the part where we don't worry about the how. We just worry about what could be, what's our biggest dreams, and put it all out on paper. And then the D is for document your goal. And so we're really getting specific, creating SMART goals if that works for my clients, but putting a process in place to say, okay, this is what I want to achieve, when I want to achieve it by, and here's the exact steps that I'm going to take so that we can run the plan. And then I is all about investing in the goal. And when I say invest, so many people think, oh, well, Karin, that's just money. I don't have the money to invest in my goals right now. There are so many other things there, and I call it the temple of your dreams. So there's time, there's energy, there's money, there's people, there's learning, right? Those are all these different kinds of investments. Are you investing in the right network? People who can open doors for you, people who could become your first ideal client. Are you learning and getting new skills and capabilities that you might need for whatever that dream job is for you? And then the T is my favorite, which is take action. And that's where I get to hold people accountable and make sure that they're doing the work that they say they're going to do between our sessions, and having a process for them to check and make sure, like, okay, I am making progress and I'm not just doing busy work. Because that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see with people who are like, okay, I'm going to start a business. So I'm going to take 3 months and build a logo and mess around with fonts and websites. And I'm like, no. What's your offer? Go find a client. You don't need websites. You don't need a lot of that stuff. I mean, obviously it depends on your business model and what you're doing, but we don't need all that. Just go call a friend and be like, hey, I got this really awesome thing. I think you'd be a perfect fit for it. You want to work together? Boom, you just started your business. So we don't have to overcomplicate things. And that's why sometimes having a coach is also really helpful, because they can call you on some of that BS.
Yes, that's so true. There are so many ways to go about starting a business. But, number one is finding clients so that you can keep moving on to the next one, right? And if you're not getting paid, it's hard to continue the business. So definitely. I'm going to ask you my last question, okay? And this question is a lot of fun. And I like to know what tools you bring into the bedroom to help make it more spicy.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a physical tool. It can be whatever.
Yeah. So it depends on the day, but I love a full length mirror because we like to watch.
Ooh,
so
I haven't had
that's always in
anyone
our
say that
bedroom.
yet.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have a whole big full length mirror right next to the bed. So it's
Me
always
too.
right. Yeah. So smart. I love it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, we forgot to look in the mirror today, And some days I'm like, don't look in the mirror today.
That's when you dim the lights. That's when you dim the lights, or you put the red light on. I don't know if you have one of those in your bedroom, but
we have a
definitely.
Clock that has all kinds of different shades. So we've been like playing with that a little bit. Sometimes it's blue or green or whatever. But yeah, red is definitely, we have our whole bedroom theme, which apparently I just found out is taboo. You're not supposed to have red in your bedroom. It's like bad feng shui. Well, like my whole bed is red. Yeah, apparently. Who knew? I'm like, well, we're sticking with it. We like it. But that, I would say I have one, it's almost like a bullet type vibrator. I got it at like Walgreens. I'm not even kidding you. And it was like $12, but man, that thing works so good and it's rechargeable and it just gives me that perfect external stimulation that I need. So we do that. And sometimes candles, like I am like a sucker for the romance. I like some candlelight. So we'll turn those on, put them maybe at the bottom of the mirror. But we actually, because we have kids now, they're 12 and 14 and they're getting older and my husband's really nervous about them waking up at night. So sometimes we sneak into like the guest room or a bathroom somewhere else. And sadly, a couple of times lately, it's been in the closet. And I'm like, we need to get out of the closet. Okay. It's fine once in a while, but there was like 5 times in a row and it was in the closet. And I was like, this next time, bed or nothing.
Do you not have a lock on your door? That was the first thing I did when I moved into my place here, is that I put a lock on the door where nobody can get it unless they had the key, and only I had the key. So do you not have one of those? It's so essential for a parent to have a lock on their door.
Yes, 1000%. But I think he's more worried about the sound, like that they're going to hear the bed just because of they are older now. Like they're not 5 where they're like sleeping through, a train could go by and they're still sleeping.
I have to say though that, when kids see their parents having a happy relationship, this is a good teaching point for them. You're not going to go out and say, the bed was squeaking because we were, having sex, but them knowing that, you are, affectionate with one another and love each other and, have sex on occasion or every day, who cares? This is normal, function for a relationship, and kids really benefit from knowing that their parents are happy. So,
Yeah.
so maybe your husband doesn't have to be so worried. Just get a lock
What I
and
keep
get a
telling
good sound system and throw on some music,
Yep.
turn it up so the sounds are a little muffled, and go from there, because having regular sexual relationships with your partner is so important. And moving it around the house is fun too. So
Yeah, totally. I know. We've made it work.
absolutely. So can you tell us where we can find you?
Definitely. Come on over to KarinFreeland.com. It's KarinFreeland.com. You can get to all my social platforms from there. I'm on all the things. And of course, both of my books, The Ins and Outs of My Vagina and Grab Life by the Dreams, are available on Audible, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy books digitally. So make sure you pick up a copy.
And you have links on your website for all of those places. So did I spell it right? I just want to make sure that I spelled it right for everybody. KarinFreeland.com. So go there and get those books. And, you also have a freebie, and I think it's on there as well, right? You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, if you just go to KarinFreeland.com, there'll be a thing up at the top, I think, that says get your 6 secrets, or a pop-up, but you can just put /6, the number 6-secrets, and you can grab my 6 secrets to getting unstuck. So that will be a great thing that you could start implementing for 30 days. And I know if you really implement all of that stuff, you're going to start to see a change.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure you get that freebie, because freebies are so important to get you started. And if you need more help, reach out to her. She's an amazing resource. And I want to make sure that you guys can find me as well on pleaseme.online. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and I treat conditions of the pelvic floor and sexual health conditions such as erectile dysfunction, decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, incontinence, painful sex, and all other sorts of sexual health conditions. And I always like to say that there is absolutely no shame in seeking help for sexual health conditions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And, if that's you and you need to reach out to me, please go to pleaseme.online. You can reach me there, and you can also reach me on the OWL app. OWL is an app that you can download onto your phone and use code EH576472. And with that code, you will get $10 free to use on the app. And that is a place where you can speak to me directly. So give me a call on OWL. And also, I just want to mention here, because this is super exciting news, that Please Me is now in the top 10 globally. And I have all of my listeners to thank, and all of my incredible guests to thank for helping me to get to that point. And I want to continue growing with everybody. So please go to pleaseme.online to support the show. And if you listen to my show, please leave a review, because the reviews are what actually helps us climb to the next level. And I would love to have you help me get to the top 5%. So please leave a review. You can leave reviews on Apple or Spotify. And one more thing, because I'm always trying to have more supporters and reach more people to help. Please make sure that you tag me on social media, and you follow me, and you like and subscribe. You can subscribe on YouTube. All of my my podcasts are there and to watch. And then, all of the other sites you can listen. So be sure to reach out and follow me, so that you can know what amazing next guest I'm having on the show. And I guess that's it for now. I want to thank you, Karin, for being here today. Thank you so much for coming on Please Me.
This was so much fun. Thank you for the opportunity.
It really was. You're amazing. And we will probably have to do it again soon.
Yes.
So
I would love that.
Thank you. So until next time, everyone. Visit pleaseme.online to reach Eve, or for more information on products to increase blood flow and overall health, for her curated list of her favorite toys, and for swag that shows that you are a big fan. Please consider supporting the show.